sort of, but it's a personal seat license is you purchase the right to purchase a ticket. Now, if that isn't done, a personal seat license is me buying the right to buy that seat. And it's just one more way for an organization to make money. Now, I don't think colleges are doing that quite yet, but the professional sport teams are doing that. Certainly the NFL, where you buy a PSL. Let's say you've been in these seats for years because you buy a season ticket, and then they come up with the PSL where, okay, if you want to reserve the right to buy those two seats, you got to buy a personal seat license PSL. And they can do what they want. You know, they have the right, they own it. And that's just one more way for them to make money. That's a good reason I can see why not to buy a season ticket. All right, let's talk about branding. Here's a good example up here. Excuse me. Louisville Slugger. I've never been there. Anybody ever been to the Louisville Slugger plant? It seems like it'd be pretty cool to see. You can see in the picture there, they get to walk through and see the bats being made. Louisville Slugger, probably the best known wood bat. By the way, anybody know what they make bats out of? What kind of wood? Ash. Ash, yeah. They are starting to make some in hard maple, but most of them are ash wood, which is also the same wood they use for handles, predominantly, and shovels and picks and stuff like that. Very hard wood. Brand equity. Let's talk about that for just a second. You can see the description or the definition up here. It's the premium that a consumer will pay for a branded good or service as compared with the amount he or she will pay for an identical unbranded version of the same thing. In other words, a knockoff, if you like to put it in those terms. What will influence you to the point of paying top dollar for the real thing as opposed to basically the same product, but it doesn't have that name? We all make those decisions, don't we? Now, I know that there are some people who are really loyal to particular brands of athletic footwear especially, or even the clothing they make. How many of you right now have something on that has some type of, it's either, you know, Adidas, Nike, anybody? How many's wearing something that is, okay, well, not that many this morning. Usually there's a big number. Okay, now this is just a rhetorical question, but are you loyal to Nike? Is that the only thing you buy? Or is it based on the price? Now, I know that athletes a lot of times are much more loyal to a shoe brand, partly because some shoes are consistently make for a particular sport. Now, help me here if I'm wrong, but in soccer, doesn't Adidas, or are they still a big name in soccer shoes? I mean, they used to be. I don't know if they still are. I know that when I was in college track, Adidas was about the only thing I'd wear, and it just fit me right in terms of my shoes. And Nike was just starting to come into the picture at the time. They had, you know, just maybe one training shoe that came out, but nothing in competition. And there weren't that many choices. So Adidas was really pretty popular. was also on the picture, but most of us were pretty much loyal to whatever it is that we were brought up on. Now, if we extend this understanding here, this discussion, it's kind of like, I don't know if Levi jeans are still the thing, but when you think of jeans, in my generation, you think of Levi's, and or if you want to get jeans at any other store, they have a particular instead of the little Levi patch, they've got some other. Walmart has their own, and Farm and Fleet has their own, and Penny's, and everywhere else. And most of them are all pretty much the same, but does somebody pay, will you pay extra for just the little Levi tag on the back? Or it's like playing golf with Titleist or Titleist X-Out balls. Now, I have no idea what the difference is between an X-Out and a regular one. Apparently something is wrong with it, but they don't look different. But if you want to play with the real thing, how about on more of the big picture here? NFL versus XFL. Who knows if that's ever going to work? But various leagues have come and go. But the NFL pretty much stays there. It's a brand. I read something or heard something on TV the other day about the cost of Michael Jordan basketball shoes, and I didn't realize that they're still so expensive. I don't know what to say. I don't know if they're. I'm so far away from that now in terms of playing anything that I have no idea if they're really that much better than another shoe, or if it's just the name. It's hard to say, but people get killed over Jordan shoes. It's basically kind of come to that. Your textbook talks some about the generational differences. I found this really interesting. The definition first, or describing first the definitions of the U.S. generation, starting with the baby boomers over on the right. Now they have that by age, 51 to 69. That's basically, it's based on if you're born between 46 and 61 or something like that. Baby boomer, meaning that it's post World War II, and so it's people being born into the world after World War II. All the soldiers come home and they start having kids. Okay, so I fit into that category. I'm about right in the middle of the being born age for that. Then you have the Gen X. I don't know how to. I guess everybody here is Gen. You're all Gen Z, right? Nobody's okay. How do you define? What do you think is the difference in terms of our discussion here? In terms of influencing for the sport product, what's the difference? What would influence you differently than somebody who's a little older adult, a millennial? Is there a difference? Do you see that is definable? Yeah.
I consume the media a little differently. Like, we'll probably use phones just a little more than millennials, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Grant, you said that you as a group might use more phones, more technology in terms of your consumption of the sport product. I think that's probably one of, if not the most important or most significant difference. If go all the way to the extreme, to the baby boomers. In a way, when I thought about this, you think about what that includes, what age that, the era that includes. It includes the era of all the hippies and all the Vietnam War, Vietnam demonstrations, all of that stuff. Now, that group, having experienced all that stuff, okay, so now we're here, and how are you going to influence me? Not that I was into all that stuff, but how are you going to influence me? I don't have it totally worked out in my own mind, so I'm kind of asking that question to myself as well. But as you go through, from baby boomer to Gen X to millennial to Gen Z, how does it transition? In my mind, I see a curve that spikes when it gets to you in terms of the use of technology and the consumption, the ability to consume a sport product. I think as it starts out kind of slow, and you go through the Gen X, and the millennial, and then you get to you guys, and you were, how does the book, I like the word they use to describe it. Digital natives. It describes you as a digital native. In other words, you were born into the digital age. There is never a time when you have not been able to, if not use, at least see the use of digital media. There's always been a computer. And things, you can find out things really fast. And so your expectations are much different than mine might be in terms of my satisfaction with a particular sport product, in particular an event. I'd just be happy to get to the game for the most part, and it's not a criticism, it's just the way that you are wired, if you'll excuse the pun, I guess, that you not only want to be there, but you want to have that, we use the term second screen on Tuesday. You want to have that second screen. You want to have the ability to go beyond what you're watching and have some type of interpretation, additional media coming to you. So if I'm this sport entity and I'm marketing, let's go back to the title of this chapter. It's the integration. It's the integration of all this sport media to deliver to the consumer. It's easier to deliver it to me because I don't have as great an expectation, I guess, but more difficult to you because you expect to have Wi-Fi at the stadium. And when you don't have it, you're upset. I'm not saying, you're impatient and upset, but I'm just saying that you expect that, and the organizations go out of their way because you are the ones who are going to eventually have more disposable income to go to these events and to pay for these products. Although, now, as you look at that, as I think about it, my generation would be viewed as possibly having more disposable income than your generation right now, obviously. But then the expectations might be different. So we've got if we were to graph that, we have an intersecting line of expectations versus disposable income at one end and the other. And can you imagine a sport organization trying to anticipate the motivation to purchase based on that. It's not clearly delineated, really. I thought these statistics here were interesting. Gen Z, double tapping and snapping. In terms of leisure choices, 53% choose sport activities in their spare time. And you can read them and you can see how different these groups are. Okay, we're going to get into just a little bit of advertising, and then we'll pick this up later. But if we look at advertising just from a definitional standpoint, again, it is all encompassing. Includes advertising of any sport product, but also non-sport entities. Now, what do we mean by that? It means that the organization is going to advertise itself for consumption. Let's use MVNU. Okay, MVNU Athletics. We're going to, by any number of means, advertise games, home games, but we also are going to advertise non-sport entities. Who are those? Who is Mount Vernon advertising that are non-sport entities that are somehow related to this? Yeah, exactly. All you gotta do is turn around and look out there in the gym, and you see everybody that the school is advertising. Now we're going to get more into discussion of sponsorships as we go along in this discussion. But do you see how the advertising element has expanded here? It's not just advertising the event, it's advertising the groups that want to tag along and hang on to your coattails. But you want those because they're the ones that are also helping to supply income and revenue. So you don't want to make them mad. One of the terms that you want to know, that you want to be able to understand in this section is differentiation. Differentiation has to do with the idea that I may have a whole array of non-sport entities wanting to be part of my sport organization. How do I differentiate and somehow provide them with a satisfying package and still promote my own product? Let me explain further. If I'm trying to promote MVNU athletics, okay, so I go by the regular types of advertising. It's on the web, it may be on the radio, it may be in the paper. But along the way, I want to somehow provide satisfaction to those guys that are giving me dollars along the way or goods along the way. How do I do that? And how do I can't give each one the same because they have different motivations. You mentioned restaurants. Okay, so how do I provide, how do I differentiate in some way that I can somehow, and it comes to this integration again, that I can somehow integrate this sport communication in such a way that everybody's happy. Have you ever been to a game somewhere where you got some type of an incentive when you walked in or there was something on the back of the ticket, or you got a gift while you were there, or you were one of the first 500 that walked in and got something. Have you ever, does that, okay, so seeing a few of you, okay. Do you remember offhand what it is you're thinking of?
My sister used to get UC haircut tickets.
Okay.
On the back was like sport clips, coupons.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay, yeah, okay, for haircuts, all right. We've all gotten tickets like that probably. At the shot for Ohio State basketball games, McDonald's hands out, well, at the end of the game, when people are leaving, we'll have these stacks of McDonald's coupons. If Ohio State breaks 70 points, you get a coupon for a free fry. If they break 80 points, you get a coupon for a Big Mac. And you'd be surprised with people coming through, hey, I want my Big Mac coupon. You know, we're just handing these out. Okay, so you may think, wow, McDonald's giving away, what, maybe 5,000 free Big Macs? Yeah, but they're not going to go buy just a free Mac, are they? A Big Mac. They're going to buy a couple of Big Macs, and they got kids, and they're going to buy, you know how it goes. You don't go in there just to buy one fry. So it's an ingenious system. I went to I've made reference to this minor league ball team once in here, I think, at least once. Minor league baseball team in Joliet, Illinois. Independent club, not affiliated with an MLB team, but very family oriented, and it's right next to a bakery there in Joliet. So on your way out, at least the game I was at, on the way out, they gave everybody a package of hamburger buns. You know, I'm sure they advertised that. And now, are people going to buy a ticket just to go and get free hamburger buns? No, but it helps. People will do about anything to get a T-shirt. You know, if you are putting together some type of a promotional activity, trying to get people to come to something, if you offer a free T-shirt, man, they're there. And T-shirts are really cheap, you know. And I got drawers full of these T-shirts that you know, you go somewhere and you get a T-shirt. You know, now it kind of first started with running a 5K or something, you'll get a T-shirt. But anymore, you know, pizza and T-shirts. If you want people to come to club meetings or you name it, you give them pizza and or T-shirts, and they'll come. Food, you know, food will bring people. Which is why, you know, back of tickets a lot of times, you got room on the ticket, so you're going to throw something on there. What if I'm watching not just a game, but if I'm just watching TV at night? I don't care. No, it can't be PBS because there's no commercials, but if we're watching regular commercial TV, what if I'm listing the different categories of advertisements, what category do I see the most ads in? Almost without fail. Cars, automobiles, trucks. Exactly. It's amazing. If you would just stop and sometime if it occurs to you when you're watching TV and commercial time comes, note how many auto ads fly by in the 10 commercials that you see. 3 out of 10 will probably be autos. Now it's also geared, if you watch, for instance, the news at night or the Today Show in the morning or something like that, they are going to gear an ad to the type of person that is watching. Okay, this goes back to this whole differentiation idea, the idea that I anticipate what the motivations of the buyer are, Well, I'm not going to advertise cars on Saturday morning for cartoons. I'm going to advertise toys. But if I'm advertising during the news or during games, I'm going to stick, cars and trucks up there. Because those are the people with the most disposable income, and they're the ones that are going to buy cars. And this is not a, just a, I'm simplifying it really here, but this is stuff that has been gone over and field tested and surveyed, and they know exactly what they're doing. Okay, you know what? That's where we're going to stop. We're going to pick this up on Tuesday. We're still in this advertising section, so this is where you need to read in the text. I think that's all. Unless you have any questions, have a rest of your good week and a good weekend.